where principle-based learning organization came from, and an invitation to join the journey by Carol Webster. I recall one day at recess in upper elementary school sitting on the asphalt in a circle with my girlfriends. We went around the circle telling each other what we wanted to be when we grow up. I remember Pam saying she wanted to be a nurse, a goal that she achieved early. She has been an outstanding NICU nurse for over 20 years. I remember thinking that I wanted to be a school teacher, but I realized that teaching in the public school system was more about dealing with discipline than teaching. An image of my first grade teacher, Mrs. West, dragging Mike Cooper out of the classroom by the nape of his neck came to mind. I decided later that a college teacher doesn't have to deal with discipline. Teaching young adults became my goal. I eventually reached this goal as an adjunct faculty in university and community college settings. As an elementary school girl, I remember having a strong sense that education was important, and the way children are educated is one of the greatest influences upon the future world. I knew somewhere deep inside that there was a force controlling education with an agenda that did not have the people's best interest in mind. When I read John Taylor Gatto's book, The Underground History of American Education, those deep knowings were explained in detail. It was as if the book was unfolding what I already knew, almost like watching a movie I had seen before. Before my husband, Eric, and I began our family, we discussed how we would educate our future children. Eric was a precocious child and learned early on that he didn't have to do much to get B grades, and A grades meant a little more work, but not much for him. Although he was a college graduate, he never learned how to learn or study in much depth. He did well fulfilling assignments by teachers, but not so well giving himself assignments. We discussed homeschooling our children as an option. Homeschooling was an emerging trend at that time, and we met an outstanding family who homeschooled. Watching their family influenced us greatly. I began to read books about homeschooling. All along the way, I felt that deep sense again. I had an educational philosophy deep inside, but could not find any writings that matched up well with those intuitions. After searching for a few years, I came to the conclusion that I would have to get in touch with those internal ideas, pull them up to the surface of my consciousness, and write my own philosophy. This was a truly daunting task, which I knew would take many years to complete. Since my first child was still young, I decided I better get started so I would be a little bit clear about how to educate her by the time she became school age. Just weeks later, a friend told me about Charlotte Mason, and I decided to look into that philosophy. I was expecting some kind of enrichment to my educational philosophy because my friend told me that she thought I would like Charlotte Mason because she emphasizes art and music. As I read my first book about Charlotte Mason called For the Children's Sake by Susan Schaefer McCullough, all I read was harmonious with the educational philosophy I had begun to commit to writing. I was so relieved that I didn't have to write my own philosophy since it had been mostly written more than 100 years before by Charlotte Mason. Later, I found other authors that shared and expanded on many of these principles, including Maria Montessori, John Holt, and later Oliver and Rachel DeMille, among others. Nearly 20 years later, I still seek to discover and apply what I esteem as true teaching principles. I've gained so much in my life from great minds in the form of reading what they have written. I have shared ideas and research with Karen, Michaela, Callie, Kristen, Grit, Tina, Kathleen, Lori, Jen, and others. They have had a positive influence on me and on my family. What we have learned together as parents has spread to other circles since most of these dear friends have moved to different areas over the years. Those new circles need a home. We call that home the Principle-Based Learning Organization. a place where great ideas to help each other lift the next generation and beyond can be organized, exchanged, and applied. As I have pondered about the principle-based learning organization and thought of so many people who have had a part in its need and creation, I have thought of the many different choices these friends have made in the details of educating our families. I made the decision to homeschool before my children were born. Contributors to the principle-based learning organization are succeeding and finding challenges in a wide variety of circumstances, including various combinations of public, private, and homeschool settings. Some have transitioned from public school to homeschool, while others have transitioned from homeschool to public, and so on. Some have children with physical, mental, and emotional challenges that need a very different track from other children to thrive. I encourage you to find the writers and groups that you most identify with and correspond with them. Whatever the details in terms of circumstances may be, true principles will apply. Sharing that truth, wrestling to define it, and finding ways to apply it is what the principle-based learning organization is all about. We invite you to join the journey, study with us, share with us, ask and answer questions. Commit what you learn to a written article to post on this site that can benefit many others. Together, we will make a positive difference in a world that has never been in greater need of your good influence.